The year before the Columbine shooting, Rachel wrote down these words: "This will be my last year, Lord. I've gotten what I can. Thank you." She even told her close friends she would die young.
She was very explicit with some of them. She actually wrote, she said, "I'm dying. Slowly my soul leaves, my body withers. It isn't suicide. I consider it homicide. The world you have created has led to my death."
And Daryl shares the words her family found on the back of her dresser in her bedroom, inside her handprint, where the then 13-year-old Rachel had written, "These hands belong to Rachel Joyce Scott and will someday touch millions of people's hearts."
She wrote that she would die young, but she also wrote that her life would reach millions of lives, and the outline of her hands that she drew. These hands will touch the hearts of millions of people. And that's happened.
And that wasn't all that moved the Scott family. It was the words Rachel put down on a paper called My Ethics, My Codes of Life, a paper her father and sister found.
Bethany and I sat down and read it. It was a month after Rachel died, so we were crying as we read it and thought this is the essence of who she was.
In that paper, Rachel challenged others to do 5 things. Look for the best in others, dare to dream, choose positive influences, use kind words, and start a chain reaction of kindness.
She was always for the underdog, and the stories we began to hear at her funeral of the kids that she reached out to just confirmed what we already knew about her.
Rachel's funeral was broadcast on CNN. Millions watched and cried with the rest of us. That's where story after story was told about Rachel. Stories her own family didn't even know. How Rachel went out of her way at school, reaching out to special needs students, new students, students who were picked on.
She was never ever afraid of being her own person. That's what she wanted to be. And I always admired that strength that she had.
And then this happened.
6 weeks after Rachel's funeral, I got a phone call from a man I'd never met. His name was Frank. He lived in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he said, "Mr. Scott, you don't know me, we've never met, but he said, I've had something happen to me over the last 2 weeks that I can't explain. I've had a reoccurring dream for the last 2 weeks, and I have the same dream night after night, and I've told my family about it. I don't know why I'm having this dream, but I wanted to talk to someone in Rachel's family just to see if maybe it meant something."
I had this vision of the eyes of a girl, of a sweet girl, and out of those eyes were coming tears, and the tears were pouring to the ground, and something was beginning to grow out of the ground. Life was coming out of the ground.
And I told him, "I'm sorry, Frank, that doesn't mean anything." And he said, "Would you please just write my name and phone number down and call me if it ever does."
It was a week later when the Scott family got a call from the Jeffco Sheriff's Department that they had Rachel's backpack ready to be picked up. A backpack the Scotts keep to this day in their home in what they call Rachel's Corner. Along with other memories of Rachel, there sits her backpack, the bullet hole still in it, Rachel's blood still on it. And that's when the most incredible thing of all happened.
I took out some of her school books, and there at the bottom was her final diary. I wanted to see the last thing Rachel had written. And I was just stunned because, I mean, think about it. You get a call from a man 1,500 miles away who says, "I've had a dream," and he describes exactly what I'm looking at on the last page of my daughter's diary. And I counted the clear teardrops. There's 13 clear tears. And then they turn to dark drops. And it suddenly dawned on me, there's 13 people were killed at Columbine. Later I found out she drew this just before she was killed.
That's what Rachel drew the morning of April 20th, 1999, sitting in Mrs. Carruthers' class at Columbine High School.
Mrs. Carruthers said, "Rachel, that's beautiful. What is it?" And she said, Rachel really didn't answer me. She looked at me and said, "Mrs. Carruthers, I'm going to have an impact on the world."
You put all those things together, and you can see why there was just something to Rachel's story that it had to get out. Rachel wrote, "I have this theory that if one person can go out of their way to show compassion, then it will start a chain reaction of the same. People will never know how far a little kindness can go."